The harsh electric hum of fluorescent lights muffled the murmur of office life. But not for Iris. She moved through this artificial dawn, almost dissolving into it, like a part of the workspace itself. Her constant blue coveralls and perpetually egg yolk yellow gloves weren't just a uniform, they were camouflage, a second skin hiding every graceful line. Staff engrossed in their mundane concerns often bumped into her, their shoes grazing her legs, but she would simply flinch, making no sound, as if afraid to disrupt the delicate balance of her invisibility. For 2 years she had been a ghost here, a silent shadow, performing her duties flawlessly. Floors, windowsills, trash cans, all in complete silence, without ever meeting a gaze. Day faded into the office twilight. Iris, immersed in the monotonous sweep of her mop, was cleaning the Commander-in-Chief's office, Mr. Arthur Pendleton's. He had already left, signalling quiet, but suddenly his silhouette loomed in the doorway. Behind him the figure of Robert Sterling, his deputy, appeared, and their voices, sharp and tense, burst into the office like a cold wind. "Crucial negotiations with our Eastern partners tomorrow, Robert." Mr. Arthur Pendleton's voice, usually so confident, was now sliced with panic. "And we have no translator. Simultaneous translation isn't a joke. It's not just running text through a machine. And it's not standard English. It's Chinese, understand? We're on the verge of a disaster." Robert Sterling winced, as if in piercing pain. "The translation bureau upstairs? God forbid, Arthur. Their Chinese translator is completely useless, and their written translations look like a first grader did them. We'll lose the deal if we can't even communicate." Iris, barely discernible in the dim light, raised her head from her bucket. Her gaze, sharp and unexpected, met Mr. Pendleton's eyes. "Is there something you need, ma'am? Or perhaps you could clear the office. We're having a discussion of national importance here," Sterling hissed, his tone unpleasantly sharp. I am fluent in Chinese, Mr. Pendleton," Iris said, her voice surprisingly clear and steady, ignoring Sterling's displeased look. "I can certainly be your simultaneous translator." Mr. Arthur Pendleton blinked in surprise. Sterling, however, burst into harsh, dry laughter. This cleaner, wrapped in her scarf up to her eyes, at tomorrow's negotiations? That's not funny. It's absurd. Who are you listening to, Arthur? "I just wanted to help," Iris said almost in a whisper, bending down for her bucket. "Wait!" Mr. Arthur Pendleton stopped her. "Do you really speak Chinese? Are you seriously falling for this old man?" Sterling's voice dripped with contempt. "This is supposed to be the solution to our problem. Even if she can string a couple of words together and the Chinese miraculously understand her. Look at her appearance. It's the end of the world." "Her appearance is the least of our problems," Arthur brushed off, already pulling out his phone. He dialed a number. The voice on the other end belonged to Dr. Zhang, their former colleague who was now abroad. "Dr. Zhang, greetings. Your colleague is in the clinic with an ulcer, and we have a tsunami here. Please help us. Talk to a lady here in Chinese." He handed the phone to Iris, not even knowing her name. Iris calmly took off her glove. The hand revealed was delicate, with long, slender fingers, an elegant wrist. Her nails were cut short, unpolished, but their shape was perfect. The hands, not of a cleaner, but of a true queen. "This dark horse is full of surprises," ran through Arthur's mind. And the dark horse, meanwhile, spoke into the phone in flawless, unaccented Chinese. Her speech flowed without a single stumble, like ancient silk unfolding in the wind. After a few minutes, she said goodbye and returned the phone. "Well, Dr. Zhang, your impression?" Arthur asked anxiously. "You have stunned me, Mr. Pendleton." "I am amazed," the voice from the phone exclaimed. "Flawless. I haven't had such a pleasant conversation in a long time. She even quotes classical poetry without an accent. Native speaker level. It's fantastic. I'd like to meet her when I arrive. Thank you. You've helped me immensely. Please give my regards to your colleague with the ulcer and wish him a speedy recovery. I'll definitely visit him upon my arrival." Mr. Arthur Pendleton exchanged glances with Robert Sterling, whose face was frozen in silent astonishment. Then he turned to Iris. "Excuse me, what is your name?" he stammered. "Iris," she prompted. "Iris, please be good enough to change. We will go with you on a very important matter. I truly need your help tomorrow." Iris nodded, gathered her supplies, and vanished. "Are you out of your mind, old man?" Sterling exclaimed. "Just trusting strangers like that. What if she's a spy under cover?" There was a knock at the door. "Enter!" Arthur called out. Sterling stared in amazement at the doorway. "Is she a soldier?" "2 seconds, and she's ready for battle." Iris entered the office. Arthur and his deputy froze, rooted to the spot. This was a new surprise. Everyone in the office was used to seeing the cleaner as a stooped, unremarkable woman nearing retirement age. Now standing before them was a slender, tall young woman with perfect posture, her hair smoothly pulled back and gathered into a long, shiny ponytail. The wide, oversized coveralls and scarf had merely been a masterful disguise. Without them, no one would have recognized her. "Excellent, let's go," Arthur said, leaving the office. Iris followed him silently. In the elevator, Arthur smiled. "You don't even ask where we're going. What if I drive you somewhere and hide you?" "You won't drive me anywhere or hide me," Iris replied seriously. "Tomorrow are important negotiations. That's logical." "Logical," Arthur chuckled briefly. They arrived at a high-end clothing boutique. Iris looked around nervously. "Don't be nervous," Arthur murmured. "This is a business necessity." He gave instructions to the consultant. A strict business suit, skirt to mid-knee, jacket blouse, medium-heeled shoes. The consultant led Iris to the fitting room. Set after set was brought to Arthur, but he only shook his head negatively until his face flushed with anger. "Your employee has poor taste. Get another consultant or we'll go to another boutique. The selection is vast." A moment later, the manager appeared, busily dismissing the unsuccessful young woman. He himself selected a couple of suits and several blouses. Arthur pointed to a suit with a fitted skirt and a silk blouse in a silvery steel shade. The manager handed the chosen clothes to Iris in the fitting room. When she came out, Mr. Arthur Pendleton finally nodded with satisfaction. "Finally, exactly what we need." Iris looked in the mirror, not recognizing herself. How long had it been since she'd been used to this? How long since she'd forgotten she could look so elegant? The manager knelt before her, setting down a pair of shoes. Iris changed into them and turned before the mirror. The manager also noted what a beautiful woman was standing next to this client. Certainly not his wife, he thought. What she was wearing before was only fit for an elderly village librarian. Businessmen's wives wouldn't be caught dead in that, even going to the pharmacy for aspirin. "We'll pay now." Arthur stood up. "And you, Iris, will wear the new clothes. Don't put the old ones on again, at least not in my presence." Meanwhile, Iris caught a glimpse of the tag dangling from the sleeve. Her eyes widened and she choked. The blouse cost more than her monthly salary. And there was still the suit and shoes. "It's a business necessity," Arthur said calmly, taking her arm. "Necessity?" Iris stammered. "More than that. Tomorrow you will represent the face of the firm. We cannot make a poor impression at the negotiations." The negotiations went brilliantly. Iris was transferred to a new position. When the topic of documents came up, it turned out she didn't have them on hand. They needed to be restored. "That doesn't matter." Arthur waved it away. "I need a specialist, not a diploma. We'll sort out the diploma later. By the way, I'll instruct the head of security, Rex Dalton, to handle your documents to speed up their restoration." No, that's not necessary. I'll take care of them myself." Iris's cheeks flushed crimson, and she became noticeably agitated. Iris performed her work flawlessly, but something was troubling her soul. She had been much calmer and more balanced as a cleaner. Something was gnawing at her, and she was clearly not in a hurry with the documents. Maybe she really was hiding something. "You know, you were right," Arthur said thoughtfully, rubbing his chin and looking at Robert Sterling. "I don't like it. I told you." Arthur instructed Rex Dalton, the head of security, to keep an eye on Iris. "Be a good man, Rex. Look into who this Iris of ours is. She's being evasive about her documents. Second reminder, and still promises, and she avoids eye contact. It would be a shame if we had to fire her. What if Robert is right, and she's digging around for something? Consider it done, boss. A couple of days, and I'll have a report, Rex replied. Arthur nodded and immersed himself in his papers. 2 days later, Rex Dalton knocked on Arthur's office door, barely containing his excitement. Well, Rex, I can see in your eyes you've dug up something interesting. Did she leak us to the competitors? Not exactly, Arthur, but we found something quite curious. Here, take a look. What a bird, our cleaner. Mr. Arthur Pendleton quickly read the first pages of the dossier and whistled. Well now, why is she hiding? The question then is, how long will she hide and why? She truly is full of surprises. He leaned towards the intercom and ordered, Olivia, please send Iris in. For 2 years, Iris had been hiding from the world, from the life that collapsed when she buried her father. Alistair Thorne, her father, was a magnate, a man people said, like King Midas, turned everything he touched into gold. But he couldn't give all the treasures of the world for the health of his wife, Eleanor. She was incredibly beautiful. They were a magnificent couple, both tall, with light eyes, like visitors from another dimension. Alistair lived for her, breathed for her. He was ready to throw all the world's wealth at his beloved's feet, to buy her houses in every country. And she just laughed, repeating that she needed nothing but his love and the child she dreamed of giving him. She waited, hoped, then began taking desperate steps, trips for consultations, choosing clinics, IVF, and then she would weep after failures when the embryo didn't implant. How do you not understand? This isn't an embryo. It's my living child. Our child. Mine and Alistair's. They comforted her, offered another attempt. Finally, at a Swiss clinic, they succeeded. Eleanor was afraid to breathe. She was 4 months pregnant. The fetus developed well, but doctors were seriously concerned about her health. Numerous hormone injections weren't helping. This isn't a secure facility, doctor, the doctor defended himself. And we don't have prisoners here. She left on her own. No matter how Alistair raged, his wife vanished without a trace. And then, after some time, she reappeared herself. It turned out she had been renting a small room from an elderly lady nearby. She carried the pregnancy to term. She came to the clinic on her own to give birth and to die. Alistair wept, kissed her hands, reproached her for doing this to him. But I have an excuse, she whispered. I didn't live my life in vain. There will be a trace of me left on earth. Alistair saw the newborn girl, but felt nothing for her but annoyance. This wrinkled creature with a pink, toothless mouth had taken Eleanor from him. The therapy yielded no results, and his dearly loved wife quietly and quickly faded away like a candle. Alistair felt as though he died inside along with Eleanor, bearing his heart. He seriously contemplated taking his own life. But little Iris, whom he named after his mother, as Eleanor had requested, fell into the caring hands of a nanny, Martha. This woman became a nanny to them both. Gradually, Alistair came back to life. He started noticing his daughter and was astonished to discover that the girl was a spitting image of Eleanor. "It's me, Mrs. Davis," Martha rejoiced, quietly spitting over her left shoulder. "Pshooey, tooey, tooey, so I don't jinx it. He's come to his senses. Bless him. Well, thank God. Maybe the girl will at least have a father, even if she lost her mother." Alistair doted on his daughter, transferring all his love to her. The little girl grew up affectionate, obedient, clinging to her father like a kitten, and was never denied anything. Alistair never looked at other women, never. Till one memorable day, he had already called Iris, promising he had one more thing to do, and then he would come straight to her. A Spanish partner, with whom they were planning to build a shopping centre with a large landscaped area planted with trees. The Spanish partner's translator was a young woman who almost derailed the negotiations because Alistair was staring at her with astonished eyes and forgetting to listen to what was being said. It was her. She even had the same name. Eleanor, the same gestures, the same look. For the first time in years, Alistair forgot his promise to his daughter to hurry home. He didn't come home that night at all, staying in the beautiful woman's hotel room. He had fallen in love like a boy. His Eleanor had returned to him. An exact copy. Needless to say, he immediately proposed to her. They had a lavish wedding, and the young wife, Seraphina, moved into her husband's house. "Oh, child, you'll cry your eyes out with this stepmother, and I'll suffer along with you too," Martha sighed, combing Iris's hair. It was like she'd cursed them. Seraphina had no intention of being a mother to someone else's child. She had her own ready-made one, Jasper, Iris's age. Jasper was nothing like his mother, except in character, just as arrogant and selfish. Iris forgot about gifts, trips with Dad to the sea, even their quiet evenings alone at home. Now he was completely preoccupied with his young wife. He literally hung on her every word, catching her every utterance, and didn't notice that this Eleanor was nothing like the one he had loved. His wife convinced Alistair to send Iris to study as far away as possible in London. This was presented as concern for the girl's future, so she could get the best education. No matter how Iris begged him not to send her away, her father was adamant. "Your mother and I are concerned about your future." "I don't have a mother. She died. I only have a father." "But I've lost him too lately," Iris retorted. "See, she hates me," Seraphina interjected, and pursed her lips sorrowfully, carefully dabbing a feigned tear from her perfectly made-up eye. "I told you, no matter how hard I try, I'll just be the outsider, the wicked stepmother." "You're wrong, Iris. Jasper is also flying away for school," her father tried to convince her. In the end, it all ended in tears, including Martha's tears. She cried and packed the suitcases. 6 years away from her father didn't pass in vain for Iris. He sent her money, congratulated her on holidays, New Year's and her birthday, but Iris couldn't come home. Dad said it would be better for her that way, although Jasper flew to their home 4 times a year to visit his mother. Martha tried to reason with Alistair, but he, as if hypnotised, repeated that it would be better for their daughter this way. "The girl became an orphan, and this is better for her? Come to your senses, Alistair. It's time to call an exorcist. Did she bewitch you or something?" "That witch!" She meant his wife. Later, Martha paid for her words. Seraphina removed her from the house, hiring another housekeeper. And again, Alistair said nothing. Seraphina only reminded him that he shouldn't worry, and brought him his pills. Alistair had been taking heart medication for several years. His heart was failing. "It's all right, sooner or later everything will come out." "He'll see who you really are," Martha muttered, leaving Alistair's house with a small suitcase. And it did come out. Alistair accidentally overheard a conversation between Seraphina and Jasper, and saw through everything in an instant. It turned out that Seraphina had been weaving plots to ensnare him for many years. She had undergone a series of plastic surgeries, dyed her hair, meticulously copied Eleanor's walk, gestures, and voice timbre to turn herself into a copy of his late wife. And all the while she was deceiving and robbing him, and she hadn't loved him for a single day. Alistair sat for a long time, stunned. "What have I done? I drove my own daughter out of the house so she wouldn't interfere with this woman getting at my money. Damn the money! It took away my real family and replaced it with a surrogate. For what?" That night, for the first time in many years, he got drunk and ended up in cardiology. "Well, my friend, drinking like that is suicide with your heart condition. Why have you let yourself go like this? You shouldn't just not drink. You shouldn't even smell it. Except from a distance and through a window pane," the professor scolded, studying his test results. "I don't drink, doctor," Alistair defended himself. The doctor shook his head. "Yes. Well, that's obvious to the naked eye. It was my foolishness. But it won't happen again." Alistair summoned the head of security from his office and instructed him to compile a dossier on his wife. After rereading it, Alistair almost wanted to get drunk again to cloud his foolish mind. What he had deduced and overheard from his wife's conversation with Jasper turned out to be only a small part of the iceberg. Alistair reread the dossier on a certain Seraphina Lewis and discovered the amount she had swindled him out of over the years, and all the while she maintained a secret relationship with a man with whom she had far-reaching plans, and by whom she had had her son, Jasper, before finally reaching her coveted goal, marriage to Alistair Thorne. He immediately summoned his lawyer to his hospital room and instructed him to prepare documents to dissolve their marriage. There were more than enough grounds, thankfully. He had proposed a prenuptial agreement before the marriage. Seraphina had been offended then, but pretended she had wanted one herself. And then she had slowly and systematically led Alistair towards heart problems, mixing chemicals into his food and then plying him with pills so that after his death she would get everything he owned, and the contract wouldn't hinder her plans. Fool, an utter fool! My daughter! My daughter! Will you forgive me? He intended to bring Iris home, and Martha, and fix everything. But he didn't have time. It wasn't for nothing that she had tried to induce a heart condition in her rich husband. Alistair died before he even got home, without being discharged. The only thing he managed was to file for divorce and rewrite his will in favour of his daughter, erasing any mention of Seraphina in the document, and naming his daughter the sole heir to everything he owned. When a grief-stricken Iris flew in for her father's funeral, Seraphina didn't even let her into her own home to shower after the journey and change into mourning clothes, sending her to a hotel instead. She declared that her father had left everything to her and that Iris had nothing more to do there. This was her game, a bluff, to break her stepdaughter and then manipulate her and force her to sign papers in Seraphina's favour. At the hotel, Iris's suitcase containing her papers, documents and money was stolen, and when someone broke into her room during the night and started to strangle her, that's when Iris decided to disappear anywhere, just to be rid of everyone. That night, she accidentally broke free from the assailant's grip and screamed. Of course, no intruder was found in the room, but she asked to be taken from the hotel to the police station, where she stayed until morning. She filed a report about the missing documents. Seraphina bit her elbows and cursed her stepdaughter, blaming herself for her lack of foresight. She had miscalculated. She should have kept that fool nearby and worked on her, not driven her away. And so she had disappeared. Seraphina had planned so much more, and now she had to search for her too. Having received a temporary certificate instead of a passport, Iris rented a small room in a run-down apartment building on the outskirts and became a cleaner at Arthur's firm. So, that's it. You know the rest, Iris sighed. Arthur and Rex listened to her, their mouths agape, forgetting to close them. Well, there you go. We turned out to be detectives, Arthur exhaled. Rex, you should help the young lady. We need to restore justice. Did you know, Iris, that you are the rightful owner of all the inherited property? He turned to Iris. She was flustered. What do you mean? That is, my stepmother said that nothing belonged to me, that my father had put everything in her name. Another lie, Rex said coldly. You can go back home, and you can kick them out, and I wouldn't be lenient with them. Iris shook her head in horror. No, I can't. I'm still scared of her to death. And that can be solved in the blink of an eye. There's nothing to be afraid of here. Arthur smiled. Rex will go with you tomorrow. In fact, why tomorrow? Go today. I'm letting you both go for today. Sort out your family matters. When Seraphina saw Iris with some brute who looked like a gorilla on the threshold of her mansion, she was stunned. What are you doing here? She lives here, in case you didn't know. The giant pushed past her with his shoulder, carrying a suitcase. Seraphina silently choked, unable to find words. And you don't live here. As of tomorrow. You can pack up today, the unpleasant giant continued. From the second floor, a man in a satin robe came down and started showering them with questions. Honey, who is this? Why is Iris here? Did you invite her? Who is this giant? This giant is her fiancé, and Iris doesn't need an invitation. She's the owner here, Rex answered calmly, not bothering to introduce himself. Iris blushed. There were incidents during the night. Rex went down to the garage, woken by some noise. It turned out the family was actively packing valuables into the car to take as much as possible from the house. Rex calmly shook his head. I wouldn't advise that. Otherwise, you'll end up with a criminal case whose tail is theft on a grand scale, and whose head is attempted murder. You were the one strangling Iris at the hotel, weren't you? You'll happily go and spend time behind bars. He put on a boa constrictor's smile. The man's knees shook. I wasn't strangling. I was just trying to scare her. Whereas I don't scare people. I just lock you both up for a long time, Rex cut him off. Later, Iris brought Martha home and declared that she wouldn't need to work, but just be near, like a real grandmother. My joy! I'll die of boredom then. I'm used to working. Well then, you can make me pancakes with maple syrup in the mornings if you like, Iris smiled. The nanny leaned closer to Iris and whispered, And this Gulliver? Is he guarding you now? He's so huge, I'm scared of him myself. But with him, I'm not afraid of anyone, Iris smiled. Nothing in the world. Well, thank God for that. Then I can relax about you too. Martha dabbed her eyes with her apron. Well, I think I'll go make you some pancakes, I really will. And she busily shuffled off to the kitchen to make pancakes with maple syrup, to treat her precious granddaughter and her 6-foot-plus fiancé. Got to make plenty of pancakes for such a giant.